All right, let's check this out. Audio test 1, 2, 3. We're good. We're live. All right. Good morning, traders. B James here, and kind of already got into a trade at 9 o'clock this morning. So I've taken 2 partials, and I have another partial here up above these highs. We got about 3 minutes till 9:30 open. So let's see what happens. Yeah. So obviously I was bullish bias on the day. Came into the charts here at 9 o'clock and just saw what looked like an A+ setup worth a try. And I went in, and the rest is history. So I'm hoping to get out here quickly before 9:30. I don't want to see any crazy volatility, in part because today the SpaceX IPO is added to the NASDAQ. So I have no clue what to expect for price action today. Like, this could shoot to the moon. And really, maybe that's what I should do. But I also kind of want to get out before 9:30. So part of me is okay with closing the trade early, even if I miss out on who knows what. So cool. Full TP. There we go. And we got 2 minutes here till open. So let's see what happens. I'm stoked to have caught that. But also I'm really wanting to be cautious with the price action this morning. We have, not only is it Friday, not only is it crazy volatile week, we have the IPO. So, and I've never experienced that, so I have no clue what that'll do to the market. My gut is it'll send it skyrocketing and then dump it, but I have zero clue. All right, so I took a 904 light bulb long W. And we have, looks like, a minute and change until the open. Then I have something I was thinking about last night when it comes to break-even trading. So if you're a break-even trader and you're struggling in that phase, stick around. After the open, I'm going to share something I was thinking about. And I think it's important. I think it'll really help you shift your perspective. Alrighty, we got 9 seconds till the open. And this is where it's going to be one of those things, like, a part of me wanted to move my take profit, way up here kind of thing, because it could just smash up there. But let's see what happens. Looks like it's smashing down lower. So look at that. It would have taken me out at break even. Beautiful. So, it's the luck of the draw when it comes to making those decisions, but I decided to stick with my model because I thought it might yield the best return over time, and not over this trade, but over this time. Like, sure, I could have guessed right, and this trade could have given me another couple R if I would have had a candle spike way up there, but I preferred to just stick with my model. So what do we have here? What do we do now? What I would like to see is, I still would like to see price trade down into London low right down here for another long. I still think I'm bullish on the session. I think the draw on liquidity is this stack of relative equal highs up in here. We do have Asia high has been swept, London high has been swept. So in terms of order pairing, it would make sense to come down to London low. As well, we've had New York protraction profiles the last 4 days, 3 days. 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which means New York AM session created the low or the high of the day. And so I'm kind of keeping that in mind a little bit, given that it's a bit of a pattern this week. It gets in those moods where sometimes it's, New York protraction, or sometimes it's London protraction. So let's see what happens here. The first candle swept some of this liquidity in here and closed bearishly over this breaker. But let's see. It could have also just be a discount retrace in this little mini range. We'll see. So we have midnight open above right here. We have this opening range gap right here, 9:30 open. I still would like to see it trade down for a long down in here. Pulling up everything. So kind of mixed at the moment on the heat map. All right, so here on the 15-minute chart, here was this London low. We're coming down into discount of this 15-minute range, and we tapped into this 15-minute gap, which is why that long was looking juicy to me. And there was a short there if you wanted shorts. I think it's, like I said, I wanted it to trade down, but I'm not bearish, so I'm not interested in taking a short. So if you're stuck in a break-even trading phase, I'm going to call this, I think, consistently profitable. Let's take a look at this here in a sec. I want to watch price action. Just thinking if there's any interest in this low being swept here, because if it's really bullish, it could just want to sweep this low. And we don't have any amazing equal highs, relative equal highs. There's just a lot of trend line and a lot of relative equal highs. Nothing like beautiful, because there is this gap right here. There probably will be a 2-minute gap. There's SMT down at these lows. That 15-minute gap has been filled in. All right, here's our first presented fair value gap. It's looking, there's just not, it's like not super juicy right here. It's raging, but jeez Louise. You know, these are not relative equal. They're not also, they're kind of trend line. I'm just kind of curious to size up here. And we have the midnight above. We have this new day opening gap right there. Here's the first presented fair value gap, which has been flipped. Yesterday got flipped a bunch of times. I would have liked this if it had some more swing highs in here versus it just kind of melted down at a sharp angle right there. You know, like this versus a bunch of highs. Beautiful V-shape response, like a 1, 2, 3 candle pattern. That's really nice on the 1 minute. Didn't sweep London low, which is something I was hoping for. So this is one of those trades that's on the verge of like not completely light bulb, but also not bad. It's not totally obviously a no, but it's also not totally light bulb, somewhere in the middle. And obviously it may not even confirm. Maybe this candle doesn't close above, or the next one, you know, it might not even confirm. I'm just trying to think ahead of time because sometimes the decision can come quick. Like right now, you know, am I going to go in on it if it closes above? All right, so it did not close above there. The 1 minute might. We also have this gap down in here, so it could be a breakaway gap. But price could also want to come back down here, building this little bit of trend line, and come take that out. It's pretty V-shaped though. You know, I'm bullish on the day. You know, if we're bullish, 930 opens right here. We want to buy below 930 open. All right, so look at this candle. Came back down into that 1 minute gap and took out those lows right there, relative equal lows right there. And if there's a nice, well, that's getting too bearish. I was going to say, if there's a nice response out of here, that would be really nice for that 2 minute long. But I feel like my chart just froze. Look at that, it's not counting down. There it is, now it is. But that candle's not even moving, and look at YM. There it is, that candle's moving again. So how much volatility do we have in that move? A 600 tick, 150 point candle. Let's see what it does. This is looking bearish. I mean, obviously this candle could, well, not at this point in time, but if it snapped back up, that would be a good sign for longs. But that's obviously meaning that this setup is not even valid, not even anything I'm interested in. Whew. So we're coming for that London low, and now we're starting to build a little bit more like liquidity of this high, this high, this high. All right, come on down and take that low. We have about a minute and a half left on this 15-minute candle. What an exciting morning session so far. All right, so I guess we can talk about this here. One of the things I was thinking about last night is I think that there's a commonly missed phase in trading. I'm just looking over here real quick. We do have SMT. London low was swept with ES. And so that's just, I want to look at this real quick. We do have a 2-minute gap right there. Ideally, I'd like to see it take this London low with some force before doing anything. But there's an SMT there, so it's kind of conflicting. Like an SMT can count as the liquidity sweep for me, but I much prefer it if NQ took the liquidity itself. Any which way there is SMT, if NQ takes that low, I don't think YM will. We can see YM's a lot farther away from London low. ES is right there, sweeping that London low. Time-wise, it's 9:44. And I think that this is a misconception that I have had, is that well, now maybe I already spilt the beans, but I actually meant to write it like this: unprofitable versus consistently profitable. And it's kind of binary in traders' minds. Like, you know, you're unprofitable, and you're just striving to get consistently profitable, if that's even spelled right. All right, so London low's been swept. No gap there. So we only have this 2-minute available. It's not ideal because this 2-minute gap's kind of up here in premium to some extent. Premium of this local dealing range. And I think that it's a misconception to think that you just go from unprofitable to consistently profitable. And that really, there's, in the middle of that, there's a whole phase of break even. And that in and of itself should be celebrated. Like, if you think about it, if you're not an unprofitable trader, but you're not consistently profitable, you're probably beating yourself up a little bit going, oh my gosh, what's it going to take, man? What's it going to take to get profitable? And I've done it. But what you don't realize is there's that break-even phase in the middle. And that break-even phase in between is also a win, because you're no longer just rolling over accounts, putting them in drawdown, and messing up left and right. You certainly aren't, consistently making money, but maybe your accounts go up and come down back to the, break-even point or something like that, or you're in profit, you're in a little bit of drawdown, you're in a little bit of profit, you're a little bit of drawdown. I don't think that phase of trading gets glorified enough. And if you think about that from a mental perspective, think about how it makes you feel if that's you. Like, on one hand, if you think about it from, I'm so far away, what do I got to do to be consistently profitable? It feels daunting and negative and heavy. But if you shift your perspective and sit there and go, well, it's actually, I just achieved something. I'm no longer an unprofitable trader. I'm a break-even trader. Doesn't that take a lot of the weight off? And doesn't it close the gap between unprofitable and profitable by a lot? Now, it's a simple thing, but I don't think anybody thinks about that. It's all about the reframes. Our lives are whatever we make of them, good or bad. And no, not everything can be reframed positively. But I think this is one of those things that can easily be reframed. So I hope that's helpful. It's something I've been thinking about. All right, so I'm paying attention to the charts here. I don't like this reaction down in here a ton. It's still looking heavy, which here on the 1 hour, we have all this inefficiency down below, which I wanted to keep my eyes on. Coming back down to equilibrium in this gap down in here. That's a long ways, but another 1,000 ticks, 250 points, but it might do it. And so we have London high's been swept, and now London low's been swept, so they've been paired. But usually, yeah, I'm a little conflicted on what I want to see, just with all this down here. Not looking like it really wants to do what I want it to do. So we just wait and see. Be patient, I guess. Kind of consolidating. Pre-thinking through if it decides to pop up and close above here, what do I think about that? Not sure. We keep running into a weekly volume imbalance right above. So here's this volume imbalance, ran into that. We're between PD arrays on the weekly. This volume imbalance and this fair value gap. So there's that going on. The daily, it came back down to balance out this inefficiency that was right down here. And then we have this daily volume imbalance below. So the daily is either consolidating or maybe flipping bullish. The 4-hour put in a C2 after sweeping liquidity when the 2 a.m. candle. But then look at the current candle. This candle swept this low and forming a reversal candle as well. And there's, we're in a premium on the 4-hour. There's this imbalance right down in there at equilibrium. So this candle closes in 7 minutes, and it could be a reversal candle if it closes, below here and want to send price down here for the session, in which case I would be offside. So the 1-hour swept external range liquidity, which means it wants to come for internal range liquidity, which is this right here or this right here. So there's kind of like two levels where it could. All right, so back here on the 2-minute chart, kind of looking like it's pushing up a little bit. 3-minute looks a little nicer even. We do have a 3-minute gap. But I also don't like how it's done like a triple stab. I know ICT talks about 3 drives pattern, 1, 2, 3. Cool. I like it a little better when it, in a single move, creates a nice V. Just consolidating. This is not pretty. So for me, I'm not interested in a trade. If it confirms at this point, we can see on the 1 minute, it's pretty much just building trendline liquidity down in here. And it might still go. If it inverts this, I just don't like it. Look at that candle pushing up. We don't have SMT down in here. Looks like it's thinking about it. This is tough because this is what I wanted. I wanted to see London low swept in an inversion or ripping back up. It looks like it might want to do it here on this candle, but I'm not sure I can get behind it with all this liquidity built up down in here. There's just no strength in this move. And not to say it can't accelerate. I've certainly seen that happen before too. I just know if there's no strength and it's building liquidity, it becomes a lower probability setup. And those suck to watch run without you. But I feel like more often than not, when I take them, they stop me out. Just look at all these lows. This looks juicier than this buy side liquidity at this point. And maybe it closes above and maybe it sweeps this high and gives a TP or something before, but you just don't know. We have 10 seconds left on this 15-minute candle, which means we're going to roll into 10 a.m. new 1-hour candle as well. I like that it's not closing up here because then I don't feel any I don't feel dumb if I don't take it or anything. So new 15-minute candle, new hourly open. Put the hourly opens on the chart. Look at that candle getting rowdy. So it's kind of forming a breaker inversion right here at the moment. Just a sec, I'm gonna shut my door. So now that's a super strong close, but I don't think I'm into it. You know, might want to sweep this high and then just come back down for these lows. And it might want to run without me. But this is not light bulb enough for me to go in. I think that this is a 50-50 trade. Look at that. It's moving. So here I would have gone break even. Even though it's not at my final TP, it swept that high. Not final TP, but first TP. And I mean, this looks like it could be the low of the session. There's no doubt about it. I just don't trust it. How slow it was to respond, the amount of liquidity that's being built up right down in here. It's Friday. Like, look at YM. Look at that 2-minute candle. I actually would have confidence in this candle right there. So I could still be in this trade if I had taken it. I would have gone break even, but depending on where I got my fill, all right, so this liquidity has been swept up in here. So just time to be patient, see what happens. Look at that candle, wild. So not going to have an entry here on this. This was the entry, and I'm okay with not taking that. That really didn't fit my criteria. This is what I consider a B grade setup. All of this messing around down in here. So that's okay. I took a full W right off of this inversion this morning, and it's Friday. I think that's a solid way to end the day, and it can run without me too. I feel like for me, I've been pushing the boundaries of my rules lately, and even breaking some of the smaller ones more often than I would typically like to at all. And so I feel like a little bit of restraint is also a good thing at times, just to show myself that I have it. And yeah, with that, it's 10:10. It's my or 10:0. Was it 10:09? It's my normal cutoff time for Fridays anyway, so I'm gonna